Welcome back. And throughout the day today, SABC News will have a special focus on gender-based violence on all our shows, bringing you many more reports, many more stories as we try and move this beyond Women's Month, because it's not a Women's Month issue. But unfortunately, even during the month when we were commemorating women and all the strides that they had made, we saw some of the most heinous, the most gruesome deaths and violence perpetrated against women. But according to Statistics South Africa, there are more South African women serving in high-ranking positions in government than ever before. However, the female unemployment rate in the country has also remained higher than that of their male counterparts. And despite the post-apartheid policy interventions that were introduced after 1994, which led to considerable strides being made in improving the well-being of women, progress has been slow in recent years. And Parliament has hosted several events recently, including the Women's Parliament. And on Tuesday, the National Assembly hosted a discussion under the theme Advancing Gender Equality Through Inclusive Economic Growth and Precepts of a Capable Developmental State. The Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Sylvia Lucas, joins us now virtually to discuss some of this. Ms. Lucas, thanks for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much, Akina. Good morning to you and good morning also to your viewers.
Well, it's always intriguing, Ms. Lucas, when one looks at the themes that government comes up with, because always trying to understand what exactly it is that we are getting at. So what should we understand about the principle of a developmental state vis-a-vis the theme that you're going for this year, especially in relation to that specific relationship to women empowerment?
Sakina, let me start by saying, for the past 20 months, we as Parliament took on us the task to review the 1994 Women's Charter. And in the 1994 Women's Charter, there was about 12 articles that also included the issue of women and economy. And violence and crime was also one of the articles that have been covered in that 1994 Women's Charter. But we realized that from time to time, even in our oversight role, it's not necessarily that we do tick the right boxes. But I must also emphasize that if we are just going to tick the right boxes, we will be able to say that government have been doing a lot. But the issue is the measuring of the impact on the lives of women and how did it change women's lives. And that is the issue that we have decided to review, to see how really we have found that women have experienced that there is a change in the landscape. There is some ways in how they are being protected. There is some ways in how they are being developed. I must say, government have got many ambitious plans. And according to just the preparation for the implementation of the new strategic plan, the national strategic plan, but also the economic recovery and reconstruction plan, we are putting emphasis as Parliament. Our emphasis is that there should be a gendered perspective and a more gendered focus within this, particularly with regards to issues of women's skills development, women's empowerment, and also the protection of women. But unfortunately, it is not all of those things that are being implemented in the way that it is being planned, in the way the policy is being developed. And that is why, as Parliament, in our oversight responsibility, and also as part of our sectoral work, we started to put a very, very stronger emphasis since 2019 on the issues surrounding women. And also we said that we will make sure that our committees in their oversight responsibility must make sure that government begin to respond more to the issues of women. And how do government respond to the issues of women? By taking a more coordinated approach in all the departments that is specifically responding to the issues of women, to the issues of gender-based violence and femicide, to the issues of economic empowerment and skills development of women. And that is the kind of issues that we are highlighting to say, if we are speaking about development, our development must be inclusive and it must be empowering. I hope I have begin to respond to the issues that you just initially want to know about.
You certainly have, Ms. Lucas, but when we talk about policy perspectives and gendered policy positions, how are you, as government, how are you monitoring this? Because I'd love to hear a synopsis of various departments and how they have actually gone about including some of these gender issues and mainstreaming them in their policies, and also how government is actually ensuring that this actually happens and it follows through and it actually reaches women on the ground level of the society. How do you do that?
Let me start by saying, as Parliament, we are also holding government accountable. We are also asking the same questions that you are asking now. But what we have been doing is to actually enhance our oversight over government. And I should say that at the current moment, particularly with the Women's Parliament that we had on Friday, we asked the Minister of Women in the Presidency, we said we don't want to have any ambitious plans. We want to know from last year that we have adopted the National Strategic Plan to now, what have been done. And I can tell you now that the Ministry of Women have begun to put a solid foundation from which they can move. And that is where Parliament will come in, to make sure that we assess and monitor whether this ambitious platform or foundation that was put there to make sure that there is implementation of the National Strategic Plan, as well as the Economic Recovery and Reconstruction Plan with regards to women's issues. We are going to make sure that we do that oversight, because there is a report in front of us, and the Multi-Party Women's Caucus is going to deal with that specific report still today. We got the report on Friday. Still today, we are going to have a meeting of the Multi-Party Women's Caucus. We are going to analyze that report, and we are going to say to the Ministry of Women and to government, according to Parliament, that is where we can see we have made progress. Yes, indeed. If we listen to you, we can see that you have made progress. But what we want to see as Parliament, and that is where our role in sectoral work as well as in the portfolio and the select committees is going to be enhanced and accelerated, to make sure that in terms of our oversight, we want to make sure that whatever you are actually saying that is what you are going to implement, that is what you are going to do, we will make sure that there is at least every quarter a report on progress. We are going to make sure, and we are going to make sure that it is as transparent as possible and as open as possible, because that is what we can do as Parliament. But also the fact of the matter is that the Ministry of Women even experience it, that there is a stronger emphasis from the side of Parliament, and we are also doing a stricter oversight to make sure that that the issues around women is not just becoming a talk show. It should be actually impacting on the lives of women, because our findings.
Unfortunately, Ms. Lucas, it has been a talk shop for many years. I think it's an indictment for you to say that suddenly there's a foundation. This ministry was not established yesterday. So why are we now only at the foundation phase? Why are we only establishing a foundation now? And let's speak to the facts and practicalities around this. What is in that foundation? What is it that you are now going to be monitoring that hasn't been done all these years?
Let me firstly start. I asked the minister that specific question, but it started with a year ago, the National Strategic Plan was adopted. Let me just start first by that. Secondly, according to the minister, for the past 2 years, they have been struggling to employ a director general, which is, by all means not acceptable, but it is what happened. They have employed a director general. Immediately, they started to work on the implementation of the different plans. And it is difficult. I must say, it is very difficult for us to just walk in, do oversight if there is not an accounting officer. But I must say, we are also not impressed as Parliament, but we are giving them that opportunity, because the opportunity that we are giving them, and that was the biggest issue, let me tell you, it is the operation in silos. Now, what I am very satisfied about is the fact that the minister could actually give evidence to the effect that 13 departments came together and they are now going to approach it very coordinated, because that was the biggest issue, is that everyone was doing something, but the impact was not felt anywhere because everyone was doing something somewhere.
No, Ms. Lucas. This has always been the talk. The talk has always been we need to have a more coordinated approach. The talk has always been about exactly the sort of issues that you've outlined now, but it's been just that, talk. If you look at the Employment Equity Report, for years, more than a decade now, that report has come out time and time again outlining how black and colored women in particular have been maligned in the workplace, how they are underrepresented in the workplace. That's not a yesterday story. It's got nothing to do with a strategic policy that came up last year. Women's issues didn't arise last year, Ms. Lucas. They've been there, and hence they have to be mainstreamed. But what I'm listening to now sounds like excuses, and more excuses as to why things are not happening. And this is precisely why the face of poverty in this country is female and black, because we have failed black women in this country.
Effect. What you are saying is effect. And that was even emphasized through the exercise that we did with the Women's Charter Review. It was emphasized that the face of poverty in this country is black, African, and female, for that matter. And that is why I'm saying, when we are assessing, you can tick all the right boxes. Policies are in place. Programs are in place. But are we measuring the impact? So I am not here to defend anyone. I am giving what we have been given. But what I'm saying is that Parliament need also to, and also the media, we appreciate the fact that we know that we are partners in making sure that we can monitor, that we can actually assess, and that we can do oversight to make sure that for a change, women say we have actually participated in this exercise. What are we going to benefit from that exercise?
But Ms. Lucas, Parliament does not get a free pass on this one for precisely the reason. Let's use that simple equity report. What have you done as Parliament, as the National Council of Provinces? Let me put it at your door squarely. What have you done when those reports have come out, indicating that, in fact, someone, somewhere, ministries are not doing their jobs? What sort of accountability has there been across the board for that?
That is, I mean, if that is the weakness, that is the weakness that we need to address.
It can't be a weakness in 2021, Mrs. Lucas. It's simply an abdication of responsibility. Because this is why things don't move. Because everybody is blaming everybody else. We come up with new policy positions. We failed to implement, by your own admission, what has been there already. You admitted that implementation is weak. So we don't even know how good these policies are, because they're just on paper. We've never tested them fully.
Some of the policies have definitely been tested, and they have been peer-reviewed, and we have found, if correctly implemented, it should have made a difference long ago. I am not going to defend anyone. I am giving what we are currently emphasizing as Parliament and what we want to see being done. And Parliament committees have the responsibility to make sure that they implement the oversight precepts that is put in place. And unfortunately, everyone needs to acknowledge that we've been weak in doing the right thing. But I think I won't say that we will now have a magic wand that will make a difference. But I am satisfied that we are on the same level with regards to understanding one another, what it is that we want to see, and we don't have any apology at this moment for what is not being done. The only thing that will assist us if we say 6 months from here, we do an impact assessment, and we found that we can say in terms of statistics, hard, cold statistics, so many things have changed, so many things have been implemented, and that will be the way that we can make sure that our people are going to benefit from whatever we are saying is our good policies, and we are saying is that, but if we assess it, we can see if implemented correctly, we will have to see a difference. And I am repeating to say that if you're just there to tick the boxes, you will say that government is doing very well. But if you go down to the grassroots level, and that is why we are now working with the districts, we are working with the local government, and we want them to understand that the oversight role is not only in Parliament and the provincial legislatures, but oversight also starts at the local level, because local government is the coal face of implementation of service delivery, and part of what the implementation of the National Strategic Plan is speaking to is that they have been working with local government at the local level. We have been assessing the local economic development policy as to how it is benefiting our people. Unfortunately, women is those that we find in the informal sector only, mostly. Those few women that we are celebrating, one or two here and there, that have actually emerged from informal economy to the formal economy is just too little at this stage. And that is why we have been saying that the district development model, according to our assessment, is a very good model. And if government can implement it as soon as possible, and we can coordinate at that level, we will have to see a difference in the lives of our people. I'm sorry to say that we, even as government, we agree with you that there is very little change already at this stage. But we are also requesting, particularly through the review of this Women's Charter, that we have reviewed to say, really, government have been doing a lot with regards to policies that have been developed, legislative positions that have been developed. Even yesterday as the NCOP, we approved the domestic bill and the criminal matters related bill, the amendments, and that is the kind of issues that we have raised in 2019 and said, but we've got legislation, but how is it benefiting the women and people of South Africa?
Speaking of legislation, so you still have many reports revealing that one of the challenges that South Africa is grappling with is the inability to close the income gap, for example. Why are there still no policy tools to effect this matter through legislation by Parliament? Because it is evident that leaving the forces, market forces, by themselves to do what they need to do hasn't helped. It's not going to help. So why hasn't Parliament addressed this particular matter through legislation?
One of the areas that we have been assessing through this Women's Charter review process was the issue of the gender pay gap, but also the issue that budgets at all levels are not necessarily responding to the gender perspective. We have assessed that, we have reviewed that, and we made a report to that effect. And we have also made a recommendation or a resolution that we feel that it needs to be legislated to make sure that it will be addressed. So that is one of the issues that we said, is that we cannot shy away from the fact that if issues are not implemented, it needs to be legislated to make sure that we have a legal standing to make sure that it begin to be implemented.
And that, unfortunately, is all we have time for. But I look forward to further engagement, Ms. Lucas, on some of these matters, because they are absolutely critical to ensuring that we do see some sort of equality, but also basically taking care of women and children in our society and making sure that some of the scourges perpetrated against them are actually done away with. But thank you so much for your time. Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Sylvia Lucas, discussing the country's agenda in trying to attain transformation and equality as we reflect on the pervasive challenges faced by women in South Africa.